We're speaking with the member for Polwarth, Richard Riordan. Richard, look, before we get talking about some local matters, the Andrews Labor government's had a crack at the opposition about fracking. What exactly is your policy on fracking?
Well, the Victorian Parliament decided some time ago not to support fracking. The Liberal Party doesn't support fracking. What the Liberal Party supports is the advancement, exploration, development and supply of conventional gas here in Victoria. The Andrews government has been incredibly dishonest in the last 48 hours, driving trucks around Melbourne, sending out endless text messages, fake farmers on the phone ringing people. It's been a shameless display of the way the Andrews government behaves, just quite prepared to put lies and scare campaigns out there. It's a fabrication. It's made up. We need to move on. Western Victoria, where I represent, the home of timber production, the home of dairy production, valuable, vital industries to Victoria, the home of Australia's largest sort of concentration of renewable energy. All these things rely totally, absolutely 100% on the ongoing supply of conventional gas here in Victoria, and a Liberal government promises to do that until there is a viable alternative such as the development of hydrogen or some other reliable source of high-energy fuel.
Well, I understand from a statement from David Southwick, Deputy Leader, earlier today that the opposition does support extracting gas but not via fracking. Apparently that's not going to have an impact on groundwater supplies or the agricultural sector, according to the lead scientist report.
That's exactly right. We haven't promoted or supported fracking. We talk about conventional gas. It's really important to remember, Ricky, there's over 50,000 wells, conventional gas wells, that have been drilled either as exploration or development wells across rural, regional and coastal Victoria now for the last 50 years, without any problem whatsoever. And because of that, Victoria has become the manufacturing powerhouse of the whole nation because of our reliance on good, reliable, cheap, relatively low emission fuel. And until there's an alternative, we just have to keep that going. There is absolutely no point driving our economy into an abyss based on an energy system that doesn't yet exist for the people of Victoria. So, we've got to transition. We've got to transition sensibly and reliably. And that's certainly what the Liberal plan is about.
Now, we've spoken previously, and I've spoken with Bev MacArthur not long ago, your colleague in the Upper House. She's had some comments about the Gore Kappa, this body that is about the Great Ocean Road, etc. Does that sort of represent Labor's approach to people in your electorate?
Oh, does it ever? And this is why I think there's going to be a huge mood for change in my electorate. The electorate of Polwarth now covers the entire Great Ocean Road from Torquay through to Peterborough, the Curtis River at Peterborough. It's a beautiful part of Australia, a beautiful part of Victoria, and it needs to have control at the local level. The local communities, and there's lots of little towns and communities all the way along that ocean road that add to its interest and vitality. Those communities have all been overridden. All the planning, all the activity, all the public spaces are now controlled by this Melbourne-based, they're based in Torquay, but Melbourne-appointed board. They have no accountability to the local shires or the local communities. And, our communities are going to suffer if that continues. And absolutely, we are saying bring back local control back to our communities so our coastal communities can thrive.
It does give me the impression, when we've talked about it before, that they're sort of running regional Victoria for the benefit of Melburnians and not really for regional Victorians.
Ricky, I could not have said that better myself. You're absolutely spot on. And the worst part is, and I often say this in my electorate, the beautiful electorate of Polwarth, there's too many people from Melbourne that come down for 2 weeks in January and see 400,000 people roaming around and thinking, oh, this is hectic and it's chaotic and busy. But those people all disappear come Australia Day, long weekend. They all go back to Melbourne, and our communities, by and large, for the rest of the year, with the odd weekend exception, remain peaceful, beautiful country towns along our coastline. They're magic places to visit. And as such, we need to make sure that the local communities aren't forgotten about when we're talking about the management of these spaces. And that's exactly what the Andrews government's done. It's applied its usual, we know best and you will do what we say approach to governing. And Matthew Guy has made it really clear the government he leads will be a government that listens to Victorians and acts in communities' interests.
Well, the flashpoint for that for us was the last conversation we had was about the Apollo Bay Skate Park was a classic example where a community facility that they've put a lot of money towards actually putting there in the first place. That's what they use throughout the year, but the Gore Kappa seems to be focused more on something for tourists visiting from Melbourne and not for the regular community's use.
Yeah, well, Ricky, the good old Gore Kappa's added tenfold to that list of community upsets. We've got disputes with footy clubs, with cricket clubs, with CFAs, with surf clubs, the Torquay ocean-going canoe club. You name it, they have sort of gone to war with these essential, vital, fantastic elements of the community. And, there seems to be no end to their long stretching arm of control. And we're just saying, look, everyone wants a well-managed coastline. Everyone wants to make sure we hand the Great Ocean Road region to the next generation in better condition than what we found it. But we won't do that by hunting locals away.
Now, Richard, you've got a good, strong connection with Colac. Something I wanted to touch base on is that the Colac Otway Council's got a petition before it now for 9 to 5 operation of the Visitor Information Centre. Is this a problem that might require some support from the state government?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things many Victorians won't be aware of, that the Victorian government has been very slow to release funds to local tourism promotion and authorities. And so we all heard on the news about a month or so ago that we gave a $15 million sponsorship to the Australian netball team. Well, that came directly from regional tourism, which was a real shock to the industry along the Great Ocean Road. So when we're sitting here and we're trying to get our communities back on track after 2 lost years of tourism with COVID, it's a real kick in the guts to think that we can't even fund our basic tourism centres. You've got the Princess Highway, allegedly somewhere between 4 and 6 million people a year are travelling down that road to see the fantastic sights of the Otways and the Great Ocean Road, and we can't even man or afford to keep open a visitor information centre. So I fully support that petition, and once we get this election out of the way, this will be a hot topic of conversation in our community.
And we'll look forward to picking that up with you and many other topics for the South Coast communities. Richard Riordan, member for the Liberal Party. If you're re-elected, we'll see how it goes on Saturday.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ricky. Good chat.